Greetings everyone, Mike here with Sci-Fi and More, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, welcome to our sci-fi family. Just to let you know, we have started a new companion channel here on YouTube we call the Cosmic Corps Chronicle, where we will be covering news from around sci-fi. I've posted the link to our new channel in the description below. The Terror from Beyond Space certainly is a particularly memorable early sci-fi horror film. But did this 1958 classic pave the way for Alien? Let's find out. But before we begin, if you have never seen The Terror from Beyond Space or Alien, there are spoilers ahead. And if you like our videos, be sure to drop a like and share, and hit that bell for alerts. And if you want to support our channel even further, don't forget to hit subscribe. It's one click for you, but it means the world to us. Now, let's begin. The Terror from Beyond Space is a fantastic piece of early sci-fi horror. And this long-appreciated entry did pave the way for Ridley Scott's Alien, and arguably provided a blueprint. There are a lot of similarities you can't just dismiss outright. And some have even speculated that Alien may as well be a remake of The Terror from Beyond Space. That's how many similarities there are. In the rocket ship named Challenge 142 arrives on Mars, where their sister ship, Challenge 141, had crash-landed months earlier. Once there, Challenge 142 only finds one survivor, the commanding officer, Colonel Edward Carruthers, who denies killing his entire crew. The crew of Challenge 142 doesn't believe him, as he tells them that he saw something in a strange dust storm, and that is what has killed his crew. After he's taken aboard the rescue ship, everyone discovers that something big and menacing has snuck aboard. Its first victim, killed in a shadowy engine room, puts the crew on high alert, but a thorough search turns up nothing. In fact, it only gets another man killed. They discover another body in the air ducts, which the monster is using to sneak around. The tight pacing and tension is directly reflected in Ridley Scott's approach to the same subject matter. Fusing the space-based setting of with its creature feature terror and infusing this idea into Alien, Ridley Scott's Alien offered a gorier, scarier, and entirely original haunted house in space film-going experience. Or so the viewers thought. Based on the screenplay titled Star Beast by Dan O'Bannon, Alien combined numerous creative visions that came together to create something truly spectacular, and eventually spawned a massive multi-movie franchise. In Alien, the alien's unique look was credited to designer Hans Rudy Geiger, who created the Xenomorph, as well as planet LV-426, where the crew of the Nostromo discover the bizarre chamber and downed ship we all see early in the film. In 1977, artist Hans Rudy Geiger gained initial fame with the release of his book of illustrations titled The Necromonicon. This led to Hollywood taking a notice of his work, and when Ridley Scott was struggling to develop the creature concept for Alien, he was shown the Necromonicon. Upon seeing Geiger's striking image of Necromon 4, Scott knew he had found the perfect artist to bring his bloodthirsty alien vision to life. Geiger happily agreed to cooperate with Scott, and he decided to change the original appearance of the alien a little because the creature from Geiger's painting apparently reflected inappropriate erotic associations, or so the story goes. Geiger not only created an eerie image of an alien at all stages of its development, from egg to facehugger to the adult alien, but he also invented a whole world inhabited by these creatures and drew sketches of the internal structure of the downed ship. Geiger came to Hollywood for this collaboration with Scott to supervise the process of creating the scenery. Initially, though, the artist was not satisfied with the work of the decorators who had tried to recreate a paper mache model of the alien's body based on his sketches. So Geiger got directly involved and demanded plasticine for the model work. The result of the collaboration between Geiger and Scott surpassed every expectation, resulting in Geiger receiving an Oscar for Best Visual Effects in Alien in 1980. Additionally, director Ridley Scott cited Star Wars and 2001: A Space Odyssey as inspiration for the overall visual style of Alien. Ridley Scott's concept of a creature attacking a spaceship's crew in a confined environment was also influenced by another sci-fi horror film, 1951's The Thing from Another World, in addition to It, The Terror from Beyond Space. The tense chase scenes aboard the Nostromo spaceship in Alien were filmed by Scott, creating an oppressively atmospheric film. Screenwriter Dan O'Bannon's idea of a regular working crew facing a terrifying threat was a key concept in Alien, unlike that of Star Wars or Star Trek. Some similarities between Alien and It may suggest uncredited inspiration for some elements being strikingly similar. Both Alien and It, The Terror from Beyond Space feature a crew of ordinary workers dealing with an alien stowaway on their ship, leading to a thrilling adventure as they try to eliminate the threat. While both films share fantastic concepts, they diverge in how the plot unfolds. In It, the monster's appearance is delayed in a true monster movie style, emerging only after the crew takes in a survivor from a crashed Mars rocket. In Alien, the Xenomorph stows away on the ship by bursting from a crew member's chest, providing a memorable and shocking entrance. Unlike in It, there are also no survivors on LV-426 to warn the Nostromo crew about the danger they face on the planet they explore. However, both movies involve crews unknowingly picking up an alien threat that leads to deadly consequences for some unfortunate members. In Alien and It, the alien creatures both evade detection and move through the spaceship air vents to avoid capture. Both films feature a similar plot point where the monsters start killing characters who follow them into the air vents. However, the execution of this sequence is much more effective and iconic in Alien, leading to one of the most unforgettably effective jump scare moments in the franchise. Both movies have almost identical endings, as both It and Alien's monsters are trapped in airlocks in an attempt to suffocate them to death. Although, to be fair, this plan only works in It, The Terror from Beyond Space. Nonetheless, both It and Alien see their action climax on scenes of the characters cornering the killer alien after a few less lucky crew members have been killed by their respective ominous threats. In both movies, the characters surmise that the creature needs oxygen to survive. In It, this knowledge helps the crew defeat the monster, but in Alien, despite the attempt, only Sigourney Weaver's character survives to see development of another successful plan to defeat the monster. It's worth noting that in Dan O'Bannon's original script for Alien, even Ripley didn't survive. Of course, Scott's movie is undeniably an original, despite the apparent influence that It, The Terror from Beyond Space seems to exert over it from the basic outline of the story and the action of the movie. Not only did Alien alter the ending, but it also featured the first appearance of the Xenomorph, whose uniquely horrifying use of human bodies as a gestation chamber is more inventive than anything that The Terror from Beyond Space was really able to give us in the 1950s. Not only is Alien Xenomorph more terrifying than the 50s Mars movie monster, but Scott's horrifying creature also came with a massive backstory that has kept the franchise going through multiple sequels, prequels, and crossovers. To be fair to Scott, O'Bannon, and Geiger, the sheer amount of backstory and inventive additions made to Aliens since 1979 make it clear that Alien was a movie not lacking in inspiration, even if it did borrow some elements from It. Another interesting element to both of these movies, as mentioned, is that It is cited as the inspiration for the Dan O'Bannon screenplay Starbeast for the science fiction horror movie Alien. However, Jerome Bixby, who wrote the script for It, might have influenced in turn by A.E. von Voigt's book, The Voyage of the Space Beagle. In that novel, a massive exploration spaceship discovers an intelligent, starving carnivore on another world. The creature, known as the Coeurl, sneaks on board the ship and begins killing crew members. A fun fact about this creature is that it also implants a parasitic egg in humans. Sound familiar? Now, I happen to love both of these movies, and I'm sure, unlike many of you watching this video, I actually watched these movies out of order. I was 9 when Alien came out, and I loved every minute of that movie in the theater. Looking back on it now, my dad probably thought he was taking me to see a science fiction movie on the level of the previously released Star Wars or E.T., which he had taken me to see. I don't think he envisioned a sci-fi horror film, or I don't think he would have taken me to see it when it came out, but it was awesome seeing it in the theater at that age. After I'd seen Alien, one day on our local Detroit channel, WKBD TV 50, they were running The Terror from Beyond Space on TV 50's Chiller Movie. And 9-year-old me sat there mesmerized by that movie, especially the creature. But I also thought, I've seen this movie before. This is Alien. And I remember thinking one glaring difference between these two movies, aside from how the alien creatures got on their respective ships, was that it took place in our solar system with a trip to Mars, and Alien was more of an interstellar story, leaving our solar system to arrive at the fictional planet LV-426. But, when kids watch movies, they do it just for the enjoyment. They look at a movie without any judgmental eyes and picking it apart like we do as adults. And when I was a kid watching both the Chiller movies and the Saturday afternoon creature features, they showed all the classic 1950s sci-fi movies. And while The Terror from Beyond Space was released as a B movie, and the effects aren't overly great, and some things in the movie just look like they may have been overlooked, like putting the grenades on the air vent and wiring the pull pins together to blow the creature up in the air duct. But if you look close at the wire running through the grenades, it seems to not be connected to a couple of them. And was there corny dialogue? Of course there was. Lines like, "Mars is almost as big as Texas. Maybe it's got monsters." Absolutely classic. But little things like that never really bothered me. One of the best aspects of the 1950 sci-fi films was the fact that production and effects, especially effects, were not relied on heavily to tell the story, because they simply weren't available at the time. But rather the writing and the scripts, which I believed generated much stronger stories and told a more compelling story than the stories we get today in movies. But I'm not going to lie, Seeing the creature in It and watching its shadow just slashing at a downed crew member on the Challenge 142 gave me nightmares when I was a kid. But for the time, I thought the creature looked awesome. Now, in 1958, It, the Terror from Beyond Space was an independently made American science fiction horror film produced by Robert Kent and directed by Edward L. Kahn, which starred Marshall Thompson, Sean Smith, Shirley Patterson, and Kim Spaulding. The film was distributed by United Artists as a double feature with Curse of the Faceless Man. And the film was financed by Edward Small with its original title known as It, the Vampire from Beyond Space, before ultimately changing Vampire from Beyond Space to Terror from Beyond Space. Edward Small was an American film producer from the late 1920s through 1970 who was enormously prolific over a 50-year career. He's probably best known for movies such as The Count of Monte Cristo in 1934, The Man in the Iron Mask in 1939, The Corsican Brothers in 1941, and Brewster's Millions in 1945, just to name a few. Working with a budget for the film of around $200,000 or about $3.7 million today, keep that one in mind. Principal photography for It took place over a 2-week period during mid-January 1958. Edward Small, however, kept changing his mind over whether or not he wanted plastic eyes installed in the creature's mask, causing a lot of aggravation for the film's makeup artist, Paul Blaisdell. But that was not the only aggravation Paul Blaisdell had. Ray Crash Corrigan had been cast to play the creature, but during pre-production, he was unwilling to travel over to Topanga Canyon in western Los Angeles County where Paul Blaisdell lived and operated his studio. So, Blaisdell could not take exact measurements of Corrigan's head. As a result, there were final fitting problems with the creature's head prop. Corrigan's oversized chin stuck through the monster's mouth, so Paul Blaisdell was forced to paint Corrigan's chin to look like a tongue. Blaisdell then added a bottom row of fangs to cover Corrigan's protruding chin to get the final look that we saw in the movie. It would inevitably be the last film for Ray Crash Corrigan, but the solution for the suit's head, well, that was pretty creative, actually. But whatever happened to that suit? It is unclear whether the monster suit from It, the Terror from Beyond Space, has survived to this day. However, given the age of the film and the potential challenges of preserving such materials over time, it is possible that the original monster suit may have not survived intact. As I searched for any evidence that the suit was still around today, I came up empty. So I'm not sure. If you know if the suit has survived to this day, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know the answer to that. But what we do know is that the creature costume became the property of United Artists and wound up a year later showing up in Edward Cahn's 1959 sci-fi film Invisible Invaders. In Invisible Invaders, there is a scene where they capture one of the dead and use sound to make the invader leave the body. The Martian suit from It was used to show the invaders in their true form. And as long as we're talking about creature suits, whatever happened to the original 1979 alien suit? Well, it would appear that the original alien suit used in the 1979 film would find a home in Frankfurt, Germany, at the German Film Institute and Film Museum, where in 2009 it was on display at an event the museum was hosting called the Geiger Expo, to honor alien designer and Swiss artist H.R. Geiger. Now, according to Live Journal, who covered the Geiger Expo, The alien pieces on display were the original animatronic alien head, the full latex suit, and the Oscar that Geiger won in 1980 for the visuals of Alien. That's pretty awesome. However, what was an interesting find came out of Julian's auction house to the stars. An early, extraordinary, original, authentic, full-size, translucent prototype Xenomorph costume, which has been come to know as Big Chap, designed by the surrealist artist and sculptor H.R. Geiger, was sold at Julian's auctions at their Hollywood Legends 2017 event. It was auctioned off on June 23rd and 24th of 2017 as part of the collection of Memory Lane Museum, with an estimated value between $40,000 and $60,000, with a final sale price of $44,800. Not too shabby. Long believed by cinema historians to have been lost and most likely destroyed, this extremely rare costume was a test prototype designed, developed, and sculpted by Geiger. This suit was created for consideration by Ridley Scott during the pre-production on Alien, when the Xenomorph creature suit was proposed to be translucent. That's pretty awesome. One of the glaring differences in both these films that may not seem that obvious is just the size of the franchises themselves and how many adaptations there have been. As I mentioned, in 1958, it operated on a film budget of about $200,000, or roughly $3.7 million today. Alien, on the other hand, had a budget in 1979 around $11 million, far surpassing the value of its budget in today's dollars. And Alien generated $104 million at the worldwide box office. That take at the box office and the rich lore and backstory that came with the Alien concept almost guaranteed a sequel to Alien, which we got in James Cameron's 1986 Aliens. And the Alien franchise has continued to grow to this day. Currently, there are 6 Alien films, with 2 of those being prequels to the original 1979 Alien, and 2 additional Alien vs. Predator movies. There is also an upcoming 7th Alien film called Alien Romulus, which looks absolutely fantastic, and is said to be getting back to the Alien roots with something that may look closer to the original Alien movie. Plus, there's an Alien television series coming to FX Network and Hulu in 2025. There have been multiple novels, short stories, and comic books spanning the Alien franchise, and not to mention video games, starting with the first video game of the Alien franchise released in 1982 for the Atari 2600. And not to be left out, while It, the Terror from Beyond Space would appear to be just a standalone movie, it did venture into comic books in 1992 when Millennium Publications adapted It, the Terror from Beyond Space as a short-run comic book series written by Mark Ellis and Dean Zachary. And then later, a further comics adaptation released by Midnight Movies IDW Publishing in 2010 for a 3-issue run. And just this year, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films nominated It, the Terror from Beyond Space for the 2024 Saturn Award in the category of Best Classic Film for Home Media Release. Not too bad, I'd say. And there you have it, Cosmic Corps. We hope you have enjoyed our retrospective comparison of It, the Terror from Beyond Space, and Alien. And thank you to all of you who continue to watch our videos and support our channel. If you like the videos here on our channel, be sure to like and share. And if you would like to support our channel further, go ahead and subscribe. It's one click for you, but it means the world to us. And be sure to check out our new sci-fi news and events channel, the Cosmic Corps Chronicle. Until next time, have a great galactic day.